What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Saturdays in Stores podcast, brought to you as always on the Crossover Media Network. My name is Kanaye, and today we get to talk about a UConn tournament win. First round against Oklahoma, UConn was able to take home the win. Thankfully, definitely got a little chalky at times. It was definitely neck and neck at for most of the game for sure. But yeah, bottom line is a win in March. UConn was able to win. Um, so again, being able to get into the second round, I think huge because this is a team that a lot of people, including myself, especially UConn fans, felt that they were very much in threat of being upset in the first round. I mean, I don't even know if you can call it an upset in the 8-9 game. But when you consider what this program has done over the last two seasons, I just think a lot of people thought that they very much had a chance to lose in the first round, and thankfully they didn't. They definitely could have, especially with just how they played offensively. But yeah, I'm going to touch on that a lot in this episode and quick preview for their matchup tomorrow against Florida. But before we get into that, if you like this podcast, if you like any of the other content you see on this channel, please review, subscribe, tell other people about our podcast, our channel. It really does help with driving YouTube's algorithm, being able to get this content out to more people. So without wasting any more time, let's get into the game. UConn won 67 to 59. It was a late tip off, start at around 9:30, maybe a little bit after. They played in Raleigh for the West region. And yeah, I mean, early on they looked good. They jumped out to I want to say an 11-2 lead, but then yeah, Jeremiah Fears started being able to get going, and let me say that kid's the truth. He's a really, really good player and definitely lottery pick bound. He's going to be a great player in the NBA. I know the announcers talked about it last. Did not realize that Jeremiah Fears is kind of along the same. It's kind of like the same situation that Cooper Flag is in, where they both should be high school seniors this year, but they reclassed ahead and are playing college basketball as freshmen instead, which is just incredible to think about. Just the dynamic scoring Fears has showcased this year, just what he's able to do off the dribble and off of ball screens. It's really incredible just what he's done this year. For that Oklahoma program, and it really is pretty cool to see how outside of Fears, they got a lot of older veterans, and they were willing to accept, hey, this kid is really good, and we're gonna just play around him and let him cook. And I mean, he was definitely cooking last night. He ended up 20 points, and obviously, I knew that was going to be a problem for UConn. Of course, they're not good defensively this year at all. Jeremiah Fears is a really, really good isolation scorer. Can do a lot off the dribble. Again, being able to get off those ball screens, go into the lane, and of course, yeah, he could shoot the ball a little bit too, bang two threes in this game. But I think Hassan did an admirable job. But I almost necessarily don't think it was just Hassan. Of course, he got the assignment. Um, but I think UConn did a lot with their bigs to try to blow up some of the actions Oklahoma did and kind of hedge off some of those screens. Really, really get up and kind of pressure at times. But yeah, I think overall, UConn was really sound defensively in this game. It's kind of unfortunate because arguably one of their better defensive performances of the season, their offense didn't show up. And that's what concerns me a lot going into tomorrow against Florida. Because again, it was a pretty solid defensive outing. Again, the fouling, I think, is starting to reemerge at certain points of the game. This was really reminding me of the Memphis game in Maui and some of the other games where UConn just, was fouling just an incredible amount of times. I just actually I just finished the watching the St. John's Arkansas game, and it seems the national verdict around that game was the officiating was terrible, which I'm definitely there with the majority of the population and saying that. But yeah, I think it's really interesting to see how the Big East teams have fared this year with non-Big East officiating, because of course we all know in the Big East the officials are supposed to let a lot more things play out, just let the players play. They let a lot of fouls go. I mean, it's one of the more physical conferences. I probably look at the Big East and the Big Ten as the most physical conferences, the toughest. Blue collar basketball you see in both those conferences. But yeah, that kind of comes back to hurt you in the tournament, where St. John's, a team that rolled through the Big East this year, playing their tough physical brand of basketball, ended up fouling a lot in this game. They had guys foul out. Kadari Richmond fouled out. Devin Smith was in foul trouble. Zuby Ejiofor was also in foul trouble. And that kind of was a little bit of the case last night for UConn. Not nearly as detrimental as to the extent that St. John's was experiencing foul trouble. But Hassan got in, picked up 2 fouls fairly quick, forced Aiden Mahaney to play a longer volume of minutes in the first half. And do have to say, in those minutes, I think Aiden Mahaney did look a lot more comfortable. Um, but yeah, again, his confidence still isn't there with Mahaney. And just when Liam McNeely and Alex Caravan aren't playing well, which Alex Caravan that first half was not good at all. Liam McNeely in this game was 2 for 13, 1 for 8 from three. And I mean, if we're being honest here, if Liam McNeely isn't hitting the shots, then this really isn't a very good basketball team. You have to remember, Liam McNeely really is the only true creator on this team. Of course, Hassan Diar is a really good ball handler, but he just doesn't have a formidable jump shot that you can rely on the way where, yeah, maybe Tristan Newton was streaky, but that's a guy I trust a lot more than Hassan Diar and being able to take shots. I mean, even open shots. Um, and yeah, when Liam's not being able to hit anything, and I think he kind of came out. I think I don't think snarled is the right word. I think he was just a little antsy throughout the game, forced a lot of shots he didn't need to, which is kind of a theme across UConn offensively in this game. It really was frustrating to watch at times just how UConn couldn't get anything off their sets and all these dribble handoffs, and it ends up with someone taking a contested or bad three with 5 seconds left on the clock, and it was definitely a tough watch at certain points for sure. But I think again, going back to Liam, if he's not playing well in terms of offense, he's not making his shots, he's not banging threes, he's not able to get into the lane and score. Then this team is really not great. And let me tell you right now, if Alex Caravan and Lee McNeely play the way they did last night against Florida tomorrow, UConn will not win this. They'll not win. They have no chance to win tomorrow if Liam and Alex play the way that they did yesterday. Of course, Caravan turned it around in the second half, was able to kind of heat up a little bit, being able to get into the lane. He had a floater, and then he was able to knock down a big three. I want to say he was able to get into the paint again, score the later stretches of the game. But I think for me, the biggest takeaways offensively is I think in these half court sets, if Liam McNeely doesn't have it, if AK is not able to do anything off of a dribble handoff and when he's going to attack the lane. If those guys aren't there, then the ball needs to be in solo ball or Terrace Reed's hands. I've voiced my opinion multiple times on this podcast about how I feel Terrace Reed probably should be a starter at this point in the season. But of course, I understand Dan Hurley wants to remain loyal to Samson Johnson. At this point in the year, you've stuck with him the whole year. I don't see why. I mean, I would probably change it if I were the coach, but again, I'm not the coach. They know the best. They know better than anyone, any UConn fan possibly can. So yeah, I mean, again, there are matchups that do favor Samson. I felt last night was a matchup where Terrace Reed, his archetype as a player was definitely more favored. It was definitely more favorable matchup for a player with the archetype that Terrace Reed has. Just considering Oklahoma really doesn't have um, any guys who match the physical nature that Terrace Reed possesses. Of course, Shalon Moore is talented, and he had a pretty solid game. But again, Terrace Reed, that's Kodiak Terrace. I mean, you get him every time he got a paint touch. I have to say, outside from a few turnovers, and especially one that was late in the game where he really needed to catch the ball in the post and didn't. Terrace played a really great game. He was able to convert on a lot of his opportunities and when he was posting up. And I gotta say, his footwork I think is really underrated among UConn fans. And again, I've talked about it a lot. I know Hurley's talked about 50% of the roster testing the portal. Terrace Reed is one of those guys that you need to have back. You need to prioritize bringing that guy back because you get a full another summer with Terrace Reed. That guy could be, I mean, Adama Sanogo good in his senior year if he does end up returning for UConn next season. But yeah, and then going to solo ball, I really think solo ball stepped up big time in this game. He was able to elevate, bang 2 threes in the first half, and then in the second half when UConn just couldn't get anything offensively, solo ball was able to attack closeouts and get those dribble drive penetrations up into the mid range and just elevate and knock down some tough midi jumpers. And I mean that's what you need from solo going forward this year and going into next year. That's something he really needs to work on in the summer. Just being able to do that more. But yeah, I mean, solo ball was really, really crucial in this game. I mean, if he doesn't knock down the shots that he did, um, or do what he did and being able to get to the line several times, then I don't know if UConn wins this basketball game. I really don't. And I was really hoping that with Liam and Alex, I thought they'd be ready for the tournament and kind of come out a little more hot than what we saw. Of course, not a good first half from Alex. Turned around second half. Liam McNeely just all around not a good game at all by any means. And you really hope he can turn around this game against Florida because, yeah, I mean, UConn's going to need everything they got to beat Florida. That's the only way they're going to win. And yeah, I mean, I guess just to preview that matchup a little bit, Florida absolutely blew the brakes off of Norfolk State. I don't think that was a surprise to anyone, including myself. I mean, it's a one playing a 16 seed. You rarely see the 16 over one. It's only happened twice. But again, there's not much to talk about Florida wise in terms of like just everyone knows how good they are. They're probably the hottest team in the country right now, and there are a lot of people's picks to win the national championship. And I don't it's tough to argue against it. Again, they look like the hottest team in the country. They have good size in their backcourt. Walter Clayton Jr. is the first team All American, one of the best players in the country, one of the best guards in the country. Elijah Martin's a really great second option to have, and that's two guys who I think is going to pose so many problems for UConn tomorrow. Of course, I would assume Hassan probably gets the assignment on Walter Clayton. Elijah Martin probably would assume either Liam McNeely or Solo Ball, one of the two, probably gets that assignment. But I think what's really, really crucial in this game, I know Rob Doster on Field 68 talked about it, was Alex Karaban needs to win his matchup at the four. Whoever Florida throws out there who's kind of playing the four on the court, I know they kind of go back and forth with their two bigs, Alex Condon, Will Richard, Ruben. Of course, they have Thomas Hall off the bench as well. But whoever's kind of on the floor playing that role as being the four man, Alex Karaban needs to win that matchup both offensively and defensively. I know I talked about how Alex has struggled kind of moving when he moved up in the scouting report when Liam McNeely went down. But when Liam's there and playing well, which of course it's tough for Alex to get going when Liam isn't playing well because when Liam's playing well, then defenders have to respect him a lot more from outside, and then of course they kind of pack it up in the paint when Liam gets into his dribble drives when he's on. But Alex, yeah, I mean, if Liam's playing well, then he's normally matched up with natural fours, and Alex Karaban can take advantage of that a little bit just because of how well Alex can move and run off of screens at times, like we saw against Villanova, where he was able to run off screens and hit those 3 pointers that he did in that game. Additionally, on defense, when he's playing against natural four man, of course, yeah, they might have a little bit of a size and strength advantage on him, but they're not normally as athletic as some of the threes that were matched up on him when Liam McNeely went down during that stretch in January and early February as well. But yeah, Alex needs to win that matchup both defensively and offensively. Alex Karaban, I think, is an improved defender, but he's still not great. Of course, he's racked up a lot of blocks this year in his anticipation and looking for opportunities to block shots has definitely increased from past years. But yeah, he needs to get it going offensively. It's really important. I mean, if he can get you, 15 to 18, we haven't really seen a 25, 26 point performance out of AK in a while. But yeah, if he can get you close to 17, 18, dish out 4 or 5 assists, obviously get on the glass a little bit, then I think that's what you need. And of course, he needs to bring it defensively. And then I think the second thing that's really going to be important is how Solo Ball performs defensively. Because again, watching that game last night, there was a point in the game where Solo Ball just got caught sleeping, man, on a backdoor cut. And I've talked about it a little bit more so in the beginning of towards the earlier stretch of the year, where I really feel like Solo Ball doesn't have any excuse to not be a better defender than what he's shown this season. And that's another thing he needs to improve on going into next year. I mean, that guy is so naturally gifted with his athleticism. And of course, what he can do on offense, shooting the ball. But yeah, he has the long wingspan, the 7-foot wingspan. He's a really great athlete. He's been in this program for 2 years now, and he really has no excuse to have the defensive lapses, especially off the ball, that he's had this year. And that kind of goes for a lot of the team. There's several points throughout the night yesterday where they just got caught sleeping on backdoor cuts, and they need to be locked in on the defensive side of the ball because, I mean, yeah, all right, I can live with it if they're not a great defensive team, but at least you need to bring your A game and you need to show that you have the effort and you're locked in at all times, paying attention and watching the ball, and make sure you know where your man is too. Don't get caught sleeping on backdoor cuts, and I think that's really important in this game. And of course, I guess in third thing, just to throw it out there, you need Liam McNeely. You need Liam McNeely to show up because, again, he's really the only true creator. Hassan, like I mentioned, good ball handler, really no shot. Liam McNeely's the only guy who can really kind of get to his spots and, get shots off, whether it's from three or getting into the lane, driving the hoop. And and I think you need to look for Terrace Reed more often. This game, I think, is going to challenge Terrace and Sampson more than any other game this year has. So I'm definitely going to be interested to see how Sampson and Terrace fare against the likes of Congdon and the rest of those guys, because that's going to be a really tough matchup for them, for sure. But yeah, I mean, listen, you made it out of the first round. Do you have the opportunity to essentially shock the college basketball world here? I mean, I know being the defending back-to-back champs, there's a level of pressure that comes with this game, but no one is picking UConn to win. Dan Hurley's telling me this to the guys right now. A lot's gone on in the last few weeks of the up and down mid to late stretches of the regular season. Finally looks like they're starting to hit their stride. Then they lose in the Big East tournament to Creighton, just really heartbreaking fashion. And then, yeah, all the stuff that went on with the 50% of the team considering transferring or already knowing where they're going to end up once they enter the portal at the end of the year. And I mean, hey, you got a first round win. That was important. That was really important. And I hope, they got the misses out yesterday and they come out hot and they play UConn basketball somewhat to the degree that we've seen the last 2 years. I mean, that realistically, um, if I was a betting man, I probably wouldn't pick UConn to win this game. I want to ride with my guys, but I don't think UConn is good enough to beat a one seed this year. Again, they got the best possible outcome, I think, in drawing Oklahoma and drawing Florida, who, again, they're one seed, so they're very good. I don't know how UConn is really going to win this game, but yeah, I would say Florida is probably the weakest one seed of them all. But at the same time, you have to remember they're arguably the hottest team in the country right now. And I really do think this game is going to come down to execution defensively. Um, yeah, your guys have to show up. Liam McNeely needs to show up in this game. With no Liam McNeely, I mean, with him not playing well, then UConn has no chance of winning this game. I really don't think so. Unless you have something like what we saw with Solo Ball at Marquette, where he goes nuclear and banks 7 threes. Or again, I mean, really, other than that, you need Liam McNeely to have a big game, or at least impact the game in some way more than what he did last night against Oklahoma. But I do think it is important to consider. I still very adamantly believe that UConn has the best coaching staff in the country, and I'm sure as soon as the game ended, Luke Murray, Kamani Young, Tom Moore, they're scheming up a lot of stuff to draw up and try to take advantage of some of the inexperience that this Florida roster has. And of course, Todd Golden, first appearance with Florida in the tournament. It's going to be interesting to see. Of course, this could be something I'm giving more attention to than what it's really worth. And there's a very real possibility that UConn ends up getting blown out by 15, 20 points in this game. And if they play the way they did against Oklahoma, then they probably will get blown out. But again, we hope that's not the case, of course, as always, as a fan. And I just, I can live with a loss. I just want to see a lot more effort and intensity than what we saw against Oklahoma. And I think, if you make it to the second weekend, I think you have to write up as a success of the year. Of course, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to chase the three-peat, but I just don't know if that's a realistic thing with this team. And that's something that I think, a lot of people didn't really acknowledge in the early stretch of the year, and that I, maybe fell victim to that as well. But yeah, I mean, you have to, I think, give Hurley and the guys on the team a lot of credit for what they've been able to do amidst all the noise and the bad, negative things said in the media about this team and about certain players. If they can come out and win this game against Florida, then I think you have to really pat Dan Hurley on the back for the job he's done this year. And I think even if they're able to keep it close, that's nothing to be ashamed of. Of course, again, when you have the chance to go for three in a row, you want to take it. But yeah, it's just it's so hard to go back to back as it is, and three-peating is near impossible. And we're seeing that. There's growing pains this year with this team, and there were some really great moments this year, and I think we're hopefully we get the guys back that we need to come back, aka Solo Ball, Jalen Stewart, Terrace Reed. And I think it's just going to be so cool to see how those guys grow going into next year. Hoping in hopes that they are able to UConn is able to retain those guys, keep them with the program. But I mean, yeah. Again, just keep your fingers crossed for this game tomorrow against Florida. I hope it is a good game and competitive and not one where UConn just gets absolutely blown out. But yeah, I have a lot of faith in the guys. I have a lot of faith in Dan Hurley. He's been in the spot before. He knows what he's doing. It's March. This is UConn's. This is UConn's time. I know historically speaking, UConn has kind of owned Florida in the tournament, so it would be nice to continue that kind of run that the program has gone on against Florida. But yeah, I mean, again, it's going to be a tough game, really, really tough team to beat. But hey, if you get this win tomorrow, then the Final Four could be on the horizon. With St. John's going down, and if you're able to beat the one seed, then there's not, it's very open in this region if you're able to knock off Florida. That's all I'm going to say. But of course, you got to take care of business against Todd Golden, Walter Clayton Jr. and crew tomorrow. And, there's no guarantee it's going to happen. It very well could be tomorrow that UConn season ends. But no, again, until then, all you can do is hope. But yeah, it's going to take care of everything I have for this episode today. I do apologize for the later upload time, just with how much basketball has been going on. Me and Josh, we've been both watching a lot of it, and of course, it was a late game last night too. So I do apologize I wasn't able to get this out earlier than what I am going to be getting it out to you guys. But until the next episode, whenever that is, could be if there's a win, maybe there'll be an instant reaction video that comes out. But if not, if it does end in a loss, then I'll have a few videos kind of breaking down the end of this UConn season if that ends up what happens. But until the next episode, I will see you all next time.